Welcome everyone to another live tutorial. Today we will be talking about how to efficiently manage dependencies in AHA roadmaps with two excellent AHA experts. We have with us Chrissi Bernardo, a product manager for AHA roadmaps, and Trei, a principal product concierge manager. Both have a ton of experience working with companies to help them get the most out of AHA, especially when it comes to managing releases and coordinating the work within them. Before we dive in, just a few quick things to note. You can ask questions in the Q&A as we go along. There are several of us on hand to answer throughout the tutorial, and we should have time at the end to answer some questions live. If you're interested in digging in further into any of the topics we discussed here today, you can request a personalized demo by sending the word demo into Q&A. We'll follow up with you after this to help set that up. And lastly, we will be recording this tutorial and sending it to you via email to reference later and share with your teammates. That is it for logistics for today. So go ahead and take it away, Chrissi.
Thank you, Catherine, and thanks everyone for being here today. I am really excited about this topic because as product managers, managing dependencies is a critical aspect of our role, and doing so effectively helps ensure that our plans stay on track and that we can continuously deliver lovable products. Here at AHA, our team and portfolio have grown over the years, and at the same time, so have the dependencies that we have to manage. And when it comes to these dependencies, there are two types that our product management team here is typically tracking. First, we have cross-functional dependencies, and we also have technical dependencies. One example where we have to manage these cross-functional dependencies is for our go-to-market launches. Here we have a regular cadence of weekly go-to-markets for our 4 products, and each of these go-to-markets require careful cross-functional coordination across all the different teams. So for example, our customer success team cannot update demo environments until a feature is live and they understand the new functionality. And our product marketing team cannot start drafting the blogs or the knowledge base articles until product management has written positioning. And so with so many of these interdependent tasks, the plans can easily fall apart without proper tracking. But thankfully, we have an established process that provides visibility into the different dependencies and statuses of each item so that if needed, we can adjust our plans. So going back to our example earlier for those go-to-markets, each cross-functional team will typically have a record in their workspace to track or represent their portion of the work. So in the product workspace, we have the actual development feature. In the marketing workspace, we have features for the blog and the knowledge base articles. In the customer success space, we have features for the demo updates and any needed customer communication. And in the end, we always make sure to link these features together so that we can have easy access to all the relevant data on any of the features related tab. On the other hand, our larger launches are typically more complex and tend to also require us to manage technical dependencies, where we can't start work on one feature until another has been completed. So for example, as some of you may know, we recently launched a new product called AHA Create. It is a digital notebook that lets you record your daily thoughts, whiteboard concepts, and ideate with your team. And to prepare for a successful launch, the AHA Create team used a Gantt chart to help understand which features needed to be delivered and in which order. In the past, I have worked at companies that lacked the tools to effectively track these dependencies, and often this resulted in delays and a lack of control over our release schedule, and sometimes some unhappy stakeholders as well. But with AHA, there are multiple options to easily visualize dependencies that help you stay on track. And we're continuing to improve our products to help you even more in this area. So we recently introduced an enhancement to our Gantt chart and our strategic roadmap that allows you to more easily visualize cross-team dependencies in one view. And also recently, we introduced delivery risks. This allows you to set alerts for when a feature you are working on has a dependency that has not yet started or a dependency that's past due. You will see these and other examples as Bonnie walks us through how all of this works inside of AHA roadmaps.
Awesome. Thanks, Chrissy. I can actually relate to almost every story in that. So thanks for that great introduction. I think you did a great job of explaining why dependencies are so important to launching successful and lovable products and features. So this question's to everybody in attendance. I'd be curious to know from you, what are the biggest challenges you face when you're managing dependencies? So you'll see a poll launch on your screen. This is multi-select, so pick whichever ones apply, but let us know what are some of those big challenges that you face with dependencies. Yeah, it looks like all of these are very challenging for everyone, and we'll cover most of those challenges as we go through how to use AHA to help manage that full scope of work. So today, I'm going to cover the key steps of dependency management. So the first one is that define step. First, you have to identify and communicate the anticipated dependencies, but that's not enough. We now need to display those to everybody who's impacted. So connecting those dependencies and facilitating tracking. And then finally, we need to deliver. We need to visualize those dependencies to stakeholders so that all of those possible impacts and risks are help us to drive to a successful delivery. All right. So imagine I'm planning a product release for my fictitious product called Breadwin Cycling. So we're on the features board here. I've planned out my release. I've defined my release date. I've identified all my features. Within those features, I've even defined requirements and done some estimation. And now I really need to start thinking about the dependencies that are going to keep me on track with this feature. So these can be dependencies like within this release, or dependencies in other releases, or dependencies that other teams are working on. And so if I go to the related tab of this feature, I can see relationships between other records that already exist. But I may happen to know that there is yet another dependency. So I can easily just come here and hit add. And because I know I depend on it, I'm going to change my dependency type to depends on. And I know that I depend on this set personal fitness goal. So I'm going to go ahead and create that relationship here. So now it appears with all of the rest of my dependencies. But I may have another team, like my platform team may know that in order for me to deliver what's on my roadmap, they need to deliver this mobile payment platform. So they too can establish relationships to my work in the same way. So they can click add here, relates to, I'm going to say I'm a dependency of that rest and recovery notifications. So I'm going to create that link. So now that was done in Breadwin platform workspace. I can still see it over here. And now I can look at all of my linked records, including mobile payment platform enhancements coming from my platform team. So I can keep track of them here. I can also visualize them because there are different relationship types. And so in this map, I can see my record and its relationship to all of the other features or records that have a dependency or relationship to mine. Of course, by nature, feature or releases are cross-functional. And the best way to visualize that is using the Gantt chart. So in this Gantt chart, you can see that I've identified multiple phases that are important for delivering my entire product feature to market. So it's more than just all of the individual product features, but all of the cross-functional work that may be happening across teams. So you can see here, I've identified some of these phases like design and launch planning, and some of these may overlap and that may be fine. There may be no need to identify a dependency, but I can, if there is a hard dependency, I can identify that by using this drag and drop to create that hard dependency. I can also look at all of those features that we were looking at on my board. Those are part of my development phase. So I can look at those all together and see these impacts and see if there are any problems that I need to resolve. So since I own this release and I own these features, I can resolve this real time and just say, okay, I can't start this till I'm done. So I can either move my feature back or move this one forward. And now I've resolved that conflict. But as we mentioned, there are other teams or other dependencies, and those can be in other releases, in other workspaces. So for instance, down here, I've got my top navigation redesign. This is my UX team. And I cannot start my navigation updates until they're complete with their redesign. So I don't own this feature. And while I can physically move it on here, I'm sure I would upset the actual owner of this feature, but this is a visual cue for me to reach out to that UX team and say, hey, how can we resolve this conflict? Can we really work concurrently, or do we have to adjust some timing or scope to be able to meet our deadline? All right, so this other dependency section, that's what Chrissi was talking about before, and it's really great for visualizing the things that I'm not directly responsible for maybe, but have impacts on my ability to deliver on time. So as the work on the release gets underway, I want to keep track of those things, make sure everything is staying on track and reaching out and resolving any of those issues. And that may require me to dig into some of the details of this feature. So as I mentioned, you can do this in the related item. I do want to help out where I'm a dependency as well, so I can see that I'm a dependency for start and stop tracking. And so I can use that new delivery risk feature that Chrissi was talking about. And I can see that while there's not a hard issue with timing right now, they've configured this to identify that if they have a dependency that has not started, they have a potential delivery risk on this particular feature. So they aren't all hard dependencies, but your release does depend on everything getting done by all of these different teams and all of this coordination. So this is the best way to start that visualization. So far we've looked at how to manage dependencies at the product level, focusing on a specific release. But if you work for a large organization with multiple products, then you likely have to manage dependencies at a portfolio level too. So imagine I'm a portfolio manager or program manager, and I'm responsible for large cross-product initiatives. So if we go to my hierarchy here, you can see that Fredwin Software has multiple products here. And within Fredwin Software, I have a set of initiatives that's going to span 1, 2, all of my products over a period of time. And so just like I can with my features, I can visualize the relationships that I need to keep an eye on so that I know if I'm delivering on time or if I have any risks. I can also, just like in the other records that I was showing you, I can add additional dependencies that I might be aware of. I can also look at this in a report, and I can visualize the big picture. So for instance, in the strategy roadmap, I can see my initiatives in this view. I can expand them and see all of the specific records that are directly tied to my overarching initiative. But the reality is I may have other work in other areas that's not directly tied to this initiative. It's tied to other ones, but it does have a relationship, or it does depend on my work, or I depend on it. And again, this other dependency section is perfect for that. So I can expand this and I can see that there is another feature. It's not directly tied to add new offerings, but it is a prerequisite for being able to deliver this particular feature. And so having that full picture, even though I'm not working on that, but I know I need to stay in contact with a person who owns it because it's going to have an impact on me. So if the direct initiative that's associated with this feature changes for some reason, then we have to coordinate and make sure that everything is still working for both of us. Another way to visualize all of these is the dependency report. So the dependency report allows you to create a list of all of your features, or in this case, all of my features that relate to that add new offerings initiative, and see any other dependencies that I have. And I can add additional information, relevant information for me in here. So I can put the due date, I can put the status, so I can actually act on this. So I'm not worried about this dependency. This one I may need to go follow up on because it's only in design and I need to make sure that it gets done so that I can do my work. One more way you can see this in a report is you can create a custom roadmap. And in this case, I've created a custom roadmap for a higher level of visibility. So not a lot of detail in here. I'm showing the key releases that are associated with my initiative. I'm trying not to keep the report really busy with too much detail, but I know somebody's going to ask me a question about related records. I can easily hover over here and expand that and get the additional detail right here without making the report itself too detailed. And if there is a conflict of some sort, there are little alerts in here that will say, oh, wait, this is outside the date range of the parent record. So it's giving you those visual cues to go resolve that conflict. All right, so we've covered how to manage dependencies for a release, manage dependencies at the portfolio level, and now I want to talk about cross-team dependencies. So this is including other product teams like UX or product marketing who work super closely with product to bring products to market. And it's always bad when you do a last-minute recognition of these things. They're part of the delivery, and we need to track those from the very beginning. So let's go back to my hierarchy here. So I can see here that not only do I have my products and my product line, but I've also got these cross-functional teams that help deliver across all different products. So for instance, product marketing, their roadmap is made up of initiatives and features that are specific to them, but it's also driven by all of the roadmaps of all of the products across the portfolio. And so they need that great one place to be able to track all of that and prioritize it. And so this is why it's good to have all of those teams in AHA as well, so that you can coordinate together, but they can still focus on their work in a specific workspace. So I'm going to go back to my workspace here in Fredwin Cycling, and I want to identify this cross-team dependency. So there's a number of different ways that we can do this. So in the rest and recovery notifications, I know that I'm going to need product marketing to help me with that. So my first step is I can create a to-do for Chrissi. Let's say Chrissi is my product marketing person. And I'm going to talk about this work request in a second. But for now, all I'm doing is I'm coming in here. I'm going to create a to-do that is a to-do, not an approval or a work request. I'm going to assign that to Chrissi, basically saying, come look at this. I know I'm going to need product marketing and positioning on this. Can you create a feature on your board for me to help track these dependencies? And Chrissi can go do that, and she can do what we did before, where you link it back in the related tab. Now, Enterprise Plus customers have a couple of different options to help streamline this. So I can create an automation that when I identify that product marketing team is having impact, it automatically creates that to do. And the way that I do that is I go to my workspace settings, go to automation, and then I open impacted team to do automation, which I've already created. So what this is doing is it's having me define the trigger and the action I want to take on that trigger. So when a feature is updated and the impacted team field changes to product marketing, I want to automatically create this to do and assign it to Chrissi. So let's go see what that looks like. So I'm in my feature. I go to my impacted team field. I identify product marketing, and automatically you saw my to-do count move up to 2. So now that to-do was automatically created for Chrissi, and she will get assigned that and she can work it as necessary. One more step that we have if you're an Enterprise Plus customer is work requests. And what work requests allow you to do is, instead of creating just a to-do, you've created a work request to do. So you'll remember when I was creating that to-do earlier, I got to choose between to-do, approval, and work request. If you choose a work request, you can identify the different team workspaces or products that you know have an impact and need to create their own features on their board, and that will create a work request to do for them. And then you can track their responses here. So I can see that content marketing has not yet responded, but product marketing has, and they've created their own feature that I can open and review. And on my feature, it automatically created that record relationship, that dependency record relationship. So I can see rest and recovery notifications, positioning. I can see that that is my product marketing team, and I can view it and track it from here. All right. So the functionality that I've just shown you here is useful for all aspects of cross-functional work. So not just when you're planning those big launches, but some of the other things that you work on as a PM. But the goal of this is to help you to deliver software on time with less chaos. So we've covered a number of different ways that you can manage dependencies in AHA roadmaps, including how to create dependencies between work items and track delivery risks, visualize dependencies on Gantt charts and roadmaps, and then manage those cross-team work requests. Again, if you need a demo, type that in the chat if you would like us to follow up with you afterwards and help you get set up with anything that we've shown you here today. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and turn this over for some Q&A.
Thank you, Bonnie. Really great demo. We had lots of great questions coming through for Q&A, so we have a few we can discuss live. Several around the other dependencies section on the Gantt chart, mainly kind of how do some of the features kind of show up on the main part of the Gantt? Some features show up in other dependencies. Is that a section that shows up automatically, or do you have to go in and create it?
Right. Okay. So the other dependencies on that section, you have to enable that. So there is a function on the Gantt chart that allows you to hide or show dependencies. So that's in your customization settings. And the things that would show up in other dependencies are going to be things that are not direct children of the release, specifically on the Gantt or the initiative on the strategy roadmap. So these are They are just a relationship through a dependency as opposed to a direct hierarchical child relationship. Chrissy, did I cover all of the implications of that? Okay, great.
Awesome, thanks. And also quite a few questions about the new delivery risks feature. So kind of how can we visualize that on the features board? And maybe we could talk about whether there are any other types of delivery risks that could appear.
Yeah, definitely. So we do have a number of delivery risks in addition to the dependency ones that Bonnie had shared. So if you go into your settings, which I can quickly show as well. So if you go into your settings, if you're a workspace owner and go into your workspace settings, you'll see here a delivery risk section. Once you enable them, you see all the different types of delivery risks that you can set alerts for. We have some planning delivery risks that are really the risks that you would typically contend with when you're in the planning phase. And then if you're using AHA Develop to implement your work, you also have development related delivery risks, which you see right here. So I think we have about 14 or 15 of these that you can set alerts for. And you can also manually flag individual records. For example, if you want to add additional context to why you feel that particular record might be at risk. And then once you're in your features board, you can easily then add that delivery risk alert on your feature card. So when you're on there, you could very easily visualize when one of your records might need some attention.
Great, thank you, Chrissy. I think last question for today, let's discuss how to get access to automations and work requests and whether someone would need the Enterprise Plus plan in order to take advantage of some of the dependency work that you demoed today, Bonnie.
Yeah, absolutely. So I tried to keep that very clear as I was talking through it, but we talked about a lot of things, right? So the to-dos, the regular to-dos, that is available with any plan. But if you want to do automations and work requests, that is part of our Enterprise Plus plan. And there are so many other features that are also part of Enterprise Plus. So again, you can reach out to us. And if you want to demo specifically all of those features, like this is compelling to you and you want to make the case, you can see all of the other great things that you can do with Enterprise Plus, including things like worksheets and stuff like that. So.
Great, thank you, Bonnie. So that wraps up our Q&A for today. We'll end a little bit early, give you guys some time back. So we hope this really inspired you to efficiently manage your dependencies, whether you're managing a single product or an entire portfolio. We will follow up today with a recording of today's tutorial. And if there are any remaining questions in the Q&A we weren't able to get to, we will follow up with you via email on that as well. So thank you all so much for attending. Have a great day.